This is it. This is the final how to use video about an actually viable special move. And I doubt anyone would want to see a how to use ESK. Wait. Fine, I'll make a how to use ESK, but only if this video gets at least 500 likes. Okay? Good. With that out of the way, let's talk about Burning Dropkick. Burning Dropkick, in short BDK, is a utility move with some predictable but consistent uses, and some hidden mechanics you might not know. I will talk about its applications in recovering, as a burst option, for killing and in disadvantage. Let's go. The good thing that sets BDK apart from Feint Jump is that you can use it as often as you like, so as long as you get launched high enough, you won't have a problem recovering. At least if the opponent ignores you. In reality, Aerial BDK has a total of 68 frames, which is just 1 frame less than buffered Feint Jump kick. So even though the move looks like it's over, you cannot input anything else until this frame, and are vulnerable to attacks for the whole time. Just like the Feint Jump, only use this move when you are sure your opponent won't reach you in time. If you want to compare it to Feint Jump, you also gotta note that you do not cancel your momentum fast enough to avoid death for a few more percents, like Feint Jump would. You actually die a bit sooner if you spam BDK out of hitstun instead of just jumping. It does have a benefit over Feint Jump though. BDK's ledge snap window is pretty lenient, especially from above, as long as you don't use it from too close up. If you now space yourself slightly above ledge, you can make use of a not very well known game mechanic. You can make your 2-frame completely invulnerable by snapping to ledge from above. So with BDK being fairly disjointed, you can cover yourself with a hitbox right up until you grab ledge fully invincible. BDK's first hitbox comes out on frame 18, which isn't particularly fast, but also not too slow either. If the opponent expects it and is just a little farther away from you, they can usually react to it and shield it. It is still good to catch jumps from the corner, dashes, and projectiles on reaction. The main reason why BDK has a use as burst option is because of its momentum properties. If you compare BDK's travel distance between a jump with no momentum and one with full momentum to the side, you can see how it goes significantly further. This is because the 18 frames of startup will keep some of your momentum and thus move you forward before the move even comes out. So if you ever want to aim for someone far away from you, you can increase your burst range by 37%, which is 1.7 big squares, by starting a short hop in any direction and input BDK as soon as possible after jump squat. An increase by 1/3 for only 4 frames more startup is almost always worth it. Now for the really interesting part. You can use this property of keeping your momentum during the startup for B reverses and wave bounces. The inputs are fairly simple as it's a side special. You just press side B in the direction you travel and then you flick the stick to the other direction. Do that and all your backwards momentum will be reversed and you can fly across stage to punish anything you want, or recover from very far away. This is especially great because you can dash towards your opponent, short hop backwards and bait a commitment which will instantly get punished. So no matter where you jump, your opponent has to respect you. The main use for BDK as a burst option is against projectiles. The move conveniently flattens our hurtbox quite a bit, so it's easy to avoid and punish projectiles like Wolf Laser, Ivysaur Razorleaf and Belmont's, well, anything. Compared to Feint Jump Kick, it has a lot less landing lag, so it's way safer than going for that every time. Or is it? Let's look at what happens when you miss or hit a shield. If you don't hit anything, for example if your opponent spot dodges, you will land on the ground and suffer around 30 frames of landing lag. In comparison, Feint Jump Kick has 37 frames of landing lag. This is obviously very punishable, but nobody has the reactions to spot dodge every time, so what if you hit a shield? Well, ultimate frame data says you are -22 on shield, which in a sense is correct, but only under the condition that you hit someone off stage or on a platform. In that case, you're most likely gonna be fine as you put quite the distance between you and your opponent, but in the majority of cases, you're gonna hit a shield on stage. In that case, you will be forced to land on the ground and suffer additional landing lag, making the move around -30. How much advantage the opponent has depends a lot on move staleness and where you hit their shield, as you fall for longer if you hit them high up and thus suffer more lag, up to 5 frames more. And that, my friends, is very, very punishable. A lot of characters will only be able to dash attack or dash grab you, because the move has so much shield pushback. But any grounded move faster than frame 19 will be a guaranteed hit on you, aerial moves even easier. Here are some examples for true punishes. If they manage to parry, it gets even worse, so while it's still technically slightly safer than Feint Jump Kick because of its spacing, it is still anything but safe on shield. Only use this move as a burst option when you don't fear your opponents out of shield options or when you can punish something on reaction. Killing with BDK can be somewhat of a challenge. The only true confirmers weak Nair, who would have thought, into BDK right at ledge, which works around 95 to 130%, but can be a bit difficult to pull off. Other than that, you can read neutral get-ups, or in general anything at ledge, and get a kill around 140%, as long as you don't hit the late sour spot. Keep in mind that BDK can also shield poke if you hit something strong like a shot put before. In some rare matchups, you might even be able to go off stage and punish either a directional air dodge or a high commitment move like a Shoto side B. But if you miss, well, you just die. From center stage, you won't get any kills until 200% or more. As I mentioned before, BDK's aerial version has a total of 68 frames, while it's only 60 frames if you hit the ground. This pretty much means that trying to circle camp by double jumping and BDKing over your opponent doesn't make any real sense. Not only will the move rob you of all your momentum after your hitbox stops, you also can't act until very close above the ground. It can be useful, however, when trying to land after getting juggled, especially with B reverse mix-ups. Unfortunately, it doesn't edge cancel though. One kind of useful mix-up can be dropping from ledge, double jumping backwards and flying over your opponent with a B reverse BDK. But again, if you get hit at any point and lose your double jump, and if you miss the B reverse, well... And that's it for how to use BDK. If you have any questions left, please leave them below and maybe even consider subscribing so you don't miss the how to use ESK, which I hopefully won't have to do. Until the next video.